before we get started with today's episode, if you could please subscribe to Show Me STL, and that way you're ahead of the real estate curve. Now, if you should have questions, whether it's buying, selling, or building wealth through real estate, please drop those in the comments below. I'm happy to answer them. And without further ado, let's get started with today's episode. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Show Me STL Podcast. I'm Zach, and this episode is very special. It represents our season finale. And so to celebrate this venture, I poured myself a nice glass of Pinot, and we're going to enjoy ourselves. And while doing so, you can expect three things. One, for me to recap all of season one. Two, we're going to talk about offer accepted and why I wrote it. And then three, we're going to talk about what season two looks like and what you can expect. And I'm going to also ask how I can better serve you. Because from the get-go, my intent was to never just be talking to you and just giving you content that I think you wanted. It was about having a conversation and ultimately about helping people make better real estate decisions in the St. Louis area. So let's rewind. So season one was about setting a foundation. We started with a individual who makes less than $50K a year and became a homeowner. And she also happened to be my sister. And just her journey and the lack of support she received prior to working with her big brother, and then the difference. And even though it's family, it still counts, right? I mean, because if family will buy from you, that says a lot of good things, right? So the episode was about belief. It was about breaking the myth that you could not own a home if you didn't make six figures, which is an outright lie. So then we transitioned the conversation and we talked about renting versus buying and, removing emotions and being more strategic about it. What makes sense? Why? When will it make sense? And what you're really paying for? And, the differences, pro and con for both renting and buying. Then we transitioned into having Mr. Martin come on the show, and he has 30 years of investment experience. So if you had aspirations of buying your own property in an investment mindset, what that could potentially look like, and answering questions about the mindset shift and, just ownership not having to be about living somewhere, but positioning yourself for greater opportunities going forward. We had more guests from home tenders, beautiful ladies. They came and they stressed the importance of staging. And because presentation changes perception and perception changes price. And as well as we highlighted things that people are doing now to kind of help their homes look younger and more modernized. So it was also a really good conversation. Then we started to get into the nitty gritty, and we broke down payments and closing costs. And we talked about some vocabulary terms such as escrow, prepaids. We discussed, some of the course requirements and assistance programs that are available to you for first-time home buyers. And so, the focus there was obviously one to make you aware of the funds that are available to you. And then also just to educate you a little bit more, because education ultimately removes fear, right? And then we transitioned into another episode where you heard from a first-time home buyer testimonial. And again, I built the podcast on real people, real experiences, and real results. So it was their first time buying a home and going from A to Z, what that process looked and felt like. And so they got to share their testimony. Then we decided to take a step back and look back into St. Louis history, right? And looked at the causes for why certain areas have certain values. And we talked about, again, more vocabulary in terms of redlining or the Jefferson Bank protests, urban renewal, the Delmar Divide, the Ville, because again, understanding this market means being able to look back and understanding its roots and the ground in which you stand on. So now we're going to close out with this particular episode, which will tie into everything that we've discussed. And that's where my book comes in. Offer accepted. In totality, was not written to impress other agents. Being as an individual who is also in the automotive industry, you are trained to look for patterns, right? And I took those experiences from the auto industry and I've applied them to the real estate industry. And so when I'm sitting here and I'm seeing patterns form, I saw buyers that were overwhelmed. I saw sellers that were underprepared. I saw deals fall apart because the strategy was too late or the agents were, for lack of a better word, too lazy. And I had one brokerage that I worked with, and she was an outstanding leader and advisor. And she instilled in me very early that not all agents are created equal. And that could not have ever been more true, right? And the old adage is you get what you pay for. But again, no different than, today's society. There are good flight attendants and bad ones. There's good cops and bad cops. There's people that take a lot of pride in their job and having their name attached to it. And there's ones that just go through the motions. And myself, I take a lot of pride in being able to have my name attached to someone making a life-altering decision, right? It's something that everybody aspires to do. Not everybody does. It is a life achievement to be able to purchase a home. And I don't take that for granted. And I don't take their trust for granted. And so just as the title of the book says, offer accepted, it sounds exciting. But what most people don't realize is the work that phrase starts months before we even write an offer, right? And so the book will break down these steps for you. It's going to discuss preparation before getting the pre-approval, understanding your leverage, market timing, because the timing of the market is pivotal in terms of both purchasing and selling. So understanding your leverage, market timing, inspections, and negotiations. The book keys in on these two things because they're very pivotal in terms of, what happens after you get an accepted contract and the negotiations that are available to you if you should uncover something during inspections and what all your options are. Appraisal positioning also plays a factor. And then overall seller psychology. And none of this is theory. These are patterns that I have repeatedly experienced in this market, and I've helped several people. And I've tried to not make it about, me selling something, right? But at some point, your resume does come into play. So I am responsible for selling over 77 homes, selling and purchasing in a 4-year span. And that's not by accident. It's about taking the tools that I've been equipped with, learned, and then mastering them and then refining them. And so the refinement has now been confined into these 124 pages. And what I've tried to do both with the book and this podcast is remove the chaos from real estate. And so it was written, again, because I saw patterns. And, you continue to do the very best you can. But what people don't realize is, man, if you're not prepared, then you're setting yourself up to fail, right? If you're not approaching this with a vision and a desired outcome, and you haven't been properly explained all of the options available to you, then you're just hoping. And in this current market, that is not a recipe for success. Just recently, it's been announced that Boeing Defense is going to be moving back to St. Louis. And while great for St. Louis, for those that are looking to buy homes, let's just say 50% of Boeing Defense moves back to St. Louis. 50% is an additional 9,000 people. That's 9,000 more people that are going to be looking to purchase a home alongside yourself. Do you want 9,000 more competitive parties looking at the same house as you? No. So again, the market is ever changing and ever evolving. And so you have to have a sound mind and a strategy and know how to maneuver in this current market. The other thing you need to understand too is that, like, with chaos comes cost. And in this particular market, it's going to cost you money. It's not going to cost you just your time. It's also potentially going to cost you money, and that's never good. So preparation protects equity. And if you've listened to season 1 and you've already picked up the book, then you'll understand that I am very strategic and focused and more than ever prepared to help my clients. So yes, please take this opportunity, if you have not, to get Offer Accepted. And it's available wherever you like to buy books. And there's both a digital and a paperback version available on Amazon. So now let's talk about season 2, because where do I want to take this? And my vision for season 2 as of right now is to be more tactical, more strategic, more precise. And so we're going to talk about specific things. And these are the things that I have in mind as of right now. The credit game that nobody taught you. We're going to talk about how to win an offer in this market. We're going to talk about appraisals and competitive market analysis and have those explained to you clearly. We're going to touch on new construction strategy in St. Louis, house hacking and multifamily opportunities. We're going to discuss the inspection negotiation tactics. We're going to talk about the interest rate psychology, and we're going to shift from a renter to owner mindset. So when I think about what's going to happen with season 2, it's not about just how to buy, it's how to win intelligently. Because the difference between owning and building wealth is not luck, it's preparation. So now I really want to kind of take a moment for you guys to just hear me as I say this very plainly. I need your feedback. I need to know what you liked, what maybe you didn't care for, what you would like more of. Did you like the interviews? Did you want more of them, less of them? Would you like a more detailed explanation on certain things? More buyer-focused episodes or seller-focused episodes? You know, the podcast is not about me talking to you. Again, I said this at the very beginning. It's about me serving you better and being of service, right? So if you could humor me for just send me a message or a comment, you can email me at my new website, zachjonesstl.com, and tell me what you want to see covered or what you think I could potentially do better. You will not offend me with your responses. I look forward to them, and I look forward to the opportunity to get better and be more informative, because the end result is it helps you achieve your goals. And that's the mission. So again, season 1, all about the foundation. Season 2 is going to be more about execution, and everything we're building here is pointed to that one goal, which is helping you make proactive, effective, and efficient real estate decisions. And if you haven't yet, again, I'm going to say one last time, please grab a copy of Offer Accepted. And it's not just because it's mine. It's because it's preparation changes outcomes, right? If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in Salos in the next 6 to 12 months, let's have a strategy conversation early, right? Not when you're stressing in the thick of it and you only got 30 days to find something. And then, oh my gosh, you know what? Let me reach out to Zach. No, let's do it 8-9 months early. So that way I can take some of the stress off, right? I appreciate every listener, every share, every message, every like. This is Show Me STL Podcast. And I'm Zach. And I'll see you season 2. And I'm thinking it's going to be this fall. Have a good evening.